The mining colony of New Terra looked wrong from the moment Captain Jake Morrison saw it through the viewport of his ship. 3,000 people lived there, but no lights moved in the windows. No ships flew between the buildings. The landing pads sat empty, except for dust that had blown across them for weeks. Morrison turned to his team. Dr. Lisa Grant checked her medical equipment one more time. Tony Rodriguez cleaned his rifle even though it was already spotless. Amy Walsh listened to the same empty radio channels she had been monitoring for the past 6 hours. Still nothing, Amy said. She pulled off her headphones and rubbed her ears. The distress beacon keeps playing the same message over and over. No one answers when I try to talk to them. Morrison nodded. The beacon had been broadcasting for 6 weeks before they picked it up. 6 words repeated endlessly. Help us. Something wonderful has happened. It was the strangest distress call any of them had ever heard. The ship touched down on landing pad 7 with a soft thud. Morrison looked out at the empty streets and felt his stomach tighten. He had seen dead colonies before. Plague, equipment failure, raiders, accidents. They all left signs. Bodies, broken things, scorch marks, something. This place just looked like everyone had stopped what they were doing and walked away. They stepped off the ship into air that smelled clean and fresh. Too clean. Morrison expected the usual colony smells of mining dust, recycled air, and too many people living too close together. Instead, the air smelled like it had been filtered and cleaned until nothing was left. Life signs show normal, Lisa said, checking her scanner. Lots of people. They're all healthy. Heart rates are steady. Brain activity looks good. Whatever happened here, it didn't kill them. They walked down Main Street. Morrison saw a cup of coffee sitting on a bench, still half full. A child's toy lay in the dirt nearby. A door hung open on a shop that sold mining equipment. Everything looked normal except for the silence. Jake, Amy whispered. She pointed ahead. A man walked toward them from the direction of the colony administration building. He moved slowly, with his hands at his sides. His face was calm, almost peaceful. When he saw them, he smiled the kind of smile people use when they meet old friends. Welcome, the man said. His voice was soft and even. We have been expecting you. I am Pete Harrison, colony administrator. Morrison knew Pete Harrison. They had served together on the cargo ship Blue Sky 15 years ago. Pete had been loud, funny, always complaining about something. This person looked like Pete, but sounded like a stranger. Pete? Morrison stepped closer. What happened here? We got your distress signal. Pete's smile never changed. There was no distress. The beacon was meant to bring help, and help came. The most wonderful help we could have imagined. What kind of help? The benefactors found us 6 weeks ago. They saw how we suffered, how we fought and worried and hurt each other. They offered us a gift. Freedom from all the pain that makes humans unhappy. More people appeared from the buildings around them. Men, women, children, all moving slowly. All wearing the same peaceful expression. They gathered in a circle around Morrison's team, but not in a threatening way. They just seemed curious, like people watching something interesting on television. Lisa ran her scanner over Pete. His brain activity is wrong, she whispered to Morrison. Parts of his mind are barely working. Other parts are too active. It's like someone rewired his head. Pete heard her but didn't seem upset. Dr. Grant is correct. We have been improved. The benefactors removed the parts of our minds that cause suffering. Anger, fear, jealousy, selfishness, all gone. We think clearly now. We work together perfectly. We have never been happier. A woman stepped forward. Morrison recognized her as Sarah Mills, the colony's chief engineer. Before, she had been sharp, quick to argue, always pushing for better equipment and safer working conditions. Now she looked like she was floating through a dream. You should let them help you too, Sarah said. It doesn't hurt. One moment you're full of worry and anger, and the next moment you're free. Free from everything that made you suffer. Tony raised his rifle slightly. Jake, this is seriously messed up. These people have been brainwashed or drugged or something. The colonists looked at the weapon with mild interest, but no fear. A few of them tilted their heads like they were trying to remember what guns were for. We understand your concern, Pete said. You still carry the burden of human nature. The need to fight, to compete, to protect what you think is yours. The benefactors can free you from that burden. You will see how much better life can be. Morrison felt cold sweat on his back. Where are these benefactors now? They returned tonight. They knew you would come. They know humans always send help when they hear distress calls. They are preparing the gift for you. Amy grabbed Morrison's arm. We need to get back to the ship, now. But when they turned around, more colonists had appeared behind them. Dozens of them, all moving with the same calm, slow steps. They weren't trying to block the path back to the ship, but they were in the way. Please don't run, Pete said. Running comes from fear, and fear is one of the things the benefactors will take away. You came here to help us. Let us help you in return. Morrison looked at his team. Lisa was checking her medical equipment again, her hands shaking slightly. Tony kept his rifle ready, but looked confused about who to point it at. Amy was trying to contact their ship, but getting only static. What exactly did these benefactors do to you? Morrison asked. They made us perfect, Sarah answered. No more fighting over resources. No more arguments about how to run the colony. No more loneliness or heartbreak. We all work together now like parts of the same machine. It's beautiful. Morrison studied their faces. They weren't lying. They really believed what they were saying. But something was missing from their eyes. Something that had been there before. Something that made them human. The benefactors arrive at sunset, Pete said. They want to meet you. They're very excited to give you the same gift they gave us. You'll understand everything once you accept their help. Morrison looked at the sky. The sun was already low on the horizon. They had maybe 2 hours before dark. 2 hours to figure out what had happened to 3,000 people and what was going to happen to his team when these benefactors showed up. He had the feeling that once the sun went down, everything would change, and not in a good way. Morrison and his team moved slowly through the crowd of colonists back toward their ship. No one tried to stop them, but everywhere they looked, peaceful faces watched them with mild curiosity. It felt like being inside a museum where all the exhibits were still alive. Lisa, I need answers, Morrison said quietly as they walked. What exactly did you see on those scans? Lisa kept her voice low. The brain patterns are all wrong. The areas that control emotions, creativity, and individual thinking are barely working, but the parts that handle cooperation and following orders are running at twice normal levels. It's like someone took a scalpel to their personalities. They reached the ship and climbed aboard. Tony sealed the door behind them while Amy ran to the communication station. Morrison watched through the viewport as the colonists slowly drifted away, going back to whatever they had been doing before. I can't reach anyone, Amy said, her voice tight with worry. Something is blocking our long-range signals. We can talk to each other and scan the colony, but nothing gets past the atmosphere. Morrison sat heavily in his command chair. Show me those brain scans again, Lisa. The medical readings appeared on the main screen. Lisa pointed to different colored areas of the brain images. See these dark spots? Those are the areas that make someone unique. Personal memories are still there, but the emotional connections to those memories are gone. They remember loving their families, but they can't feel the love anymore. What about the bright areas? Those control group behavior. Following leaders, working together, accepting what they're told without question. In a normal human brain, These areas balance against individual thinking. But in the colonists, there's no balance. The group areas have taken over everything. Tony cleaned his rifle for the third time. So they're like robots wearing human skin. Not robots, Lisa said. More like people who have been drugged to remove everything that makes them human. But they don't know they've lost anything. To them, this feels normal and right. The sun moved closer to the horizon outside. Morrison felt time running out like sand through his fingers. Amy, can you scan for approaching ships? I've been trying. There's something strange about the sensor readings. I keep getting shadows at the edge of detection range, but when I focus on them, they disappear. Morrison was about to answer when Pete Harrison's voice came over their ship's communication system. Somehow the colonists had patched into their frequencies. Captain Morrison, the benefactors would like to speak with you before they arrive. They want you to understand their gift before you receive it. The main screen flickered and changed. A face appeared that was clearly not human. The being was tall and thin, with pale skin that seemed to glow slightly. Its eyes were large and kind, filled with what looked like genuine concern. When it spoke, its voice was soft and gentle. Greetings, Captain Morrison. I am Zethka of the Benefactors. We are honored to meet representatives of humanity. Morrison stepped closer to the screen. What did you do to these people? We gave them peace, Zethka said. For thousands of years, we have traveled the galaxy watching intelligent species destroy themselves. War, hatred, greed, jealousy. These emotions cause endless suffering. We offer freedom from that suffering by cutting out parts of their brains. Zethka looked genuinely puzzled. We do not cut. We heal. The parts of the mind that create conflict and pain are damaged parts. We repair them. Your colonists now live in perfect harmony. No one fights. No one feels anger or fear. Is this not what all beings desire? Lisa leaned forward. But they've lost the ability to love, to create, to dream. Those emotions aren't damage. They're what make life worth living. You speak from the burden of carrying those emotions, Zethka said kindly. Once they are removed, you will understand. Love causes heartbreak when it is lost. Dreams cause disappointment when they fail. Creativity leads to pride in competition. We have seen this pattern in 47 other species across the galaxy. Morrison felt his blood go cold. 47 other species? You've done this to 47 different races? We have helped them, yes. All now live in perfect peace. The Kethran no longer wage war over resources. The Yilthari no longer compete for mates. The Drakmor no longer fight over territory. All live in harmony, working together for the good of all. All living like those colonists out there, Tony said. Like empty shells. Zethka's expression became even more gentle, like a parent explaining something to a child. I understand. Your fear. Every species reacts this way at first. It is the damaged parts of your mind speaking. Once we heal you, you will see the truth. You will thank us. Amy's hands flew over her control panel. Jake, I'm picking up multiple ships approaching. Big ones. They'll be here in less than an hour. Zethka nodded. Our medical ships carry the healing technology. The process is quick and painless. You will sleep, and when you wake, you will be free from all the emotions that cause you to suffer. Free from anger, fear, jealousy, and hate. Free from love, joy, hope, and wonder too, Morrison said. Those emotions are illusions created by the damaged parts of your minds. True contentment comes from harmony with others, not from the selfish feelings you call love and joy. Morrison stared at the alien's kind, concerned face and realized something. Terrible. Zethka wasn't lying or trying to trick them. The alien genuinely believed it was helping. It had probably given the same speech to 47 other species before destroying what made them unique. What if we refuse? Morrison asked. Refusal comes from fear and pride. Once those damaged emotions are healed, the desire to refuse will disappear. Do not worry, Captain. We know you will resist at first. All species do, but we are patient. We will help you whether you ask for help or not. The screen went dark. Morrison looked at his team and saw his own fear reflected in their faces. Outside, the colonists had gathered again. They stood in neat groups, looking up at the darkening sky with peaceful expressions. They're waiting for their masters to come back, Tony said. Lisa checked her medical equipment one more time. Jake, if they have the technology to rewrite human brains this completely, our weapons won't stop them. We need a different plan. Morrison watched the colonists through the viewport. Somewhere inside those peaceful, empty faces were the people he had known. Pete Harrison, who used to tell jokes during the night shift. Sarah Mills, who had fought tooth and nail for better safety equipment. 3,000 people who had been human yesterday and were something else today. We can't fight them, Morrison said slowly, but maybe we don't have to fight them. Maybe we just have to remind everyone what they've lost. The first alien ships appeared as dark shapes against the stars. The benefactors were coming, and they were bringing their gift whether humanity wanted it or not. The alien ships landed like silver teardrops falling from the night sky. They touched down without sound, their hulls gleaming under New Terra's twin moons. Morrison counted 12 ships, each one larger than his own vessel. From his hiding spot in the colony's water treatment plant, he watched through binoculars as tall figures emerged from the craft. The benefactors moved like dancers, flowing across the ground with grace that made Morrison's eyes hurt to watch. They were even taller than he had expected, nearly 8 feet high, with long arms that hung almost to their knees. Their pale skin glowed softly in the darkness. "They're beautiful," Amy whispered beside him. She sounded dreamy, almost hypnotized. Morrison grabbed her shoulder. "Snap out of it. That's probably part of how they work. They make you want to trust them." Amy blinked and shook her head. "Sorry, something about looking at them makes me feel calm. Like everything is going to be okay. Nothing is going to be okay," Tony said from his position near the window. "Look at those things they're unloading." Large silver devices floated out of the ships, carried by groups of benefactors. The machines looked like oversized medical scanners, but Morrison could see complex patterns of light moving under their surfaces. He had the sick feeling that these were the tools they used to change people's minds. "Lisa, are you getting readings on that equipment?" Lisa checked her scanner, trying to keep it pointed away from the aliens so they wouldn't detect her signals. "Energy patterns I've never seen before. Whatever those machines do, they work on brain tissue at the cellular level. They could probably rewrite someone's entire personality in minutes." The colonists began walking toward the landing area. They moved in perfect lines, like soldiers marching to music only they could hear. Men, women, children, all wearing the same peaceful expression. Morrison watched Pete Harrison walk past their hiding spot, and for just a moment, he thought he saw something flicker in his old friend's eyes. A tiny spark of the person Pete used to be, buried deep but still alive. "Did you see that?" he asked Lisa. "See what?" "Pete." For just a second, he looked like himself again. Lisa studied the colonists through her binoculars. "You might be right. The brain scans showed their original personalities were suppressed, not destroyed. Maybe under the right conditions, parts of who they used to be can surface." Morrison felt a crazy idea forming in his head. What if we could wake them up? Not permanently, but just long enough to cause problems for the aliens? How? Strong emotions, fear, anger, love. The benefactors removed those feelings, but the memories are still there. If we could trigger the right memories, maybe we could bring back enough of their old selves to disrupt whatever the aliens are planning. Tony looked at him like he had lost his mind. "Jake, There are 3,000 of them and 4 of us. Even if we could wake them up, how would we reach them all? Amy suddenly grabbed Morrison's arm. The communication system, the whole colony runs on a central network. If I could hack into it and broadcast something over every speaker, every screen, every communication device in the colony at once ... broadcast. What? Their own voices, their own memories. Everyone here has been recorded dozens of times over the years. Colony logs, personal messages, video calls home. I could find recordings of them being human. Laughing, crying, arguing, loving. Play those recordings back to them and see if it triggers something. Morrison looked out at the benefactors setting up their equipment. The aliens moved with calm. Efficiency, apparently in no hurry. They probably figured the humans were already trapped and helpless. How long would you need? 20 minutes to hack the system. Maybe another 10 to find and upload the right recordings. The tricky part is getting close enough to the main communication hub without being seen. Lisa checked her medical readings again. The colonists' brain patterns are more active when they're near us. I think part of them recognizes that we're different. If Amy could get close to some of them while she works, it might help wake them up faster. Morrison made his decision. We try it. Tony, you and I create a distraction on the other side of the colony. Draw the aliens away from the communication center. Lisa, you go with Amy and monitor the colonists' brain activity. If this works, we'll need to know the moment they start waking up. They split up, moving through the dark streets like ghosts. Morrison and Tony worked their way toward the far side of the colony, where the mining equipment sat silent and dark. Morrison's plan was simple: make enough noise to get the aliens' attention, then lead them on a chase while Amy did her work. Meanwhile, Amy and Lisa crept toward the communication center in the heart of the colony. The building hummed with electronic activity, its servers and transmitters running automatically, even though no humans were actively using them. Amy plugged her portable computer into the main data port and began typing commands faster than Morrison had ever seen her work. "I'm in," she whispered. "Colony database, personal files, communication logs, everything is here." Lisa watched the colonists through the window. Groups of them stood motionless around the alien machines, waiting patiently for whatever was going to happen to them. Their brain activity is definitely higher near us. Whatever the benefactors did, it's not completely permanent. "Found something," Amy said. "Personal video messages from 6 months ago. Listen to this." She played a recording through her headphones, then looked up with tears in her eyes. It's Sarah Mills talking to her daughter on Earth. She's crying because she misses her family. She's angry about the mining company's safety policies. She's so human, it hurts to listen to. That's exactly what we need. Can you broadcast it? Broadcasting now to every device in the colony. Sarah Mills' voice suddenly echoed from speakers throughout New Terra. Her recorded voice was full of emotion. Love, frustration, hope. She talked about missing her daughter's birthday, about fighting for better working conditions, about dreams of going home someday. The effect was immediate. Lisa watched her scanner as brain activity spiked in colonists. Across the colony, the real Sarah Mills, standing near one of the alien machines, suddenly stumbled. Her peaceful expression flickered, replaced for just a moment by confusion and pain. "It's working," Lisa whispered. "Play more." Amy's fingers flew over her keyboard, finding and broadcasting recording after recording. Pete Harrison arguing with the mining supervisor, a young colonist singing a lullaby to her baby, an old man telling jokes to his friends. 3,000 voices speaking as humans, full of all the messy emotions the benefactors had tried to remove. Across the colony, the colonists began to change. Some fell to their knees, clutching their heads as suppressed memories fought to surface. Others looked around in confusion, as if waking from a long dream. A few began to cry, tears streaming down faces that hadn't shown real emotion in weeks. Benefactors noticed immediately. Zethka's voice boomed across the colony through the same speakers Amy was using. "Do not listen to these recordings. They will cause you pain. We are here to help you. Let us complete the healing process." But it was too late. The spark of humanity was spreading through the colonists like wildfire, and for the first time since they had arrived, the benefactors looked worried. Chaos erupted across New Terra as 3,000 people began remembering what it meant to be human. Some colonists screamed as emotions flooded back into minds that had been empty for weeks. Others laughed or cried or stood in stunned silence. As their personalities fought to resurface, Sarah Mills was the first to fully wake up. She looked around at the alien machines and the tall, glowing figures of the benefactors, and her face twisted with rage. "What did you do to us?" She screamed, her voice carrying across the colony. "What did you do to my mind?" The benefactors moved quickly, trying to reach their machines and complete the process before more colonists could wake up. But Pete Harrison stepped in front of one of them, his peaceful expression replaced by the stubborn determination Morrison remembered from their old days together. "No," Pete said simply. "We don't want your help anymore." Zefke's voice boomed over the speakers, trying to drown out the recordings Amy was still broadcasting. "You are in pain because you are remembering damaged thoughts. Let us heal you completely. The suffering will stop." "The suffering is what makes us human," Sarah shouted back. She grabbed one of the alien devices and tried to smash it against the ground, but the machine was too heavy for her to lift. More colonists joined her, their faces showing every emotion the benefactors had tried to remove. Anger, fear, love, determination, hope. They surrounded the alien machines, not with the calm cooperation they had shown before, but with the chaotic energy of people fighting for their lives. Morrison and Tony ran toward the communication center as alien guards tried to stop the growing rebellion. The benefactors were tall and strong, but they moved with the same calm patience they had shown before. They seemed confused by the sudden resistance, like doctors trying to treat patients who refused to hold still. "Amy, whatever you're doing, keep doing it," Morrison called into his radio. "I'm broadcasting everything I can find," Amy replied. Personal messages, family photos, even old arguments between colonists, anything that shows them being human. Lisa watched her medical scanner in amazement. "The brain patterns are stabilizing. Not back to completely normal, but much closer than before. The suppressed neural pathways are rebuilding themselves." A young colonist named Bobby Chun suddenly broke away from the crowd around the alien machines. He had been one of the most peaceful, most empty-looking people Morrison had seen. Now his face was alive with fear and determination. "They're in my head," Bobby said, grabbing Morrison's arm. "I can feel them trying to push the memories back down. But I remember now. I remember my wife, my kids back on Earth. I remember being angry and sad and happy. I remember being me." More colonists began breaking free from whatever hold the benefactors had on them. They moved differently now, with the jerky, unpredictable energy of humans, instead of the smooth cooperation of the transformed. Some fell down as their minds struggled to process emotions they hadn't felt in weeks. Others stood up straighter, like people waking from a long sleep. Zethka appeared in person, walking calmly through the crowd of increasingly agitated humans. His glowing skin seemed brighter now, and Morrison could see something like concern in his large eyes. "Please," Zethka said, his voice somehow reaching everyone despite the noise. "You are hurting yourselves. The emotions you are feeling will lead to conflict, to pain, to war. We have seen this happen 47 times before. Let us complete the healing before you destroy each other." "Maybe we will destroy each other," Pete Harrison said, stepping up to face the tall alien. "Maybe we'll fight and argue and make mistakes. But at least we'll be doing it as ourselves. Zefka looked genuinely puzzled. Why would you choose suffering over peace? Why would you choose conflict over harmony? Sarah Mills wiped tears from her face and stepped beside Pete. Because the suffering makes the joy mean something. Because the conflict teaches us to value peace. Because choosing to be good is only meaningful if we could choose to be bad. More colonists gathered around them, forming a circle that kept the benefactors away from their machines. They weren't organized or coordinated like they had been when they were transformed. They were messy, loud, emotional, and chaotic. They were human. Morrison reached the communication center and found Amy still broadcasting recordings. Her face was wet with tears as she listened to the voices of people being themselves. "Jake, I found something else," she said. "The benefactors have been doing this for thousands of years, but I'm picking up signals from some of the other species they helped. Weak signals like someone trying to break through interference." "What kind of signals?" "Distress calls, rebellion broadcasts. It sounds like other species are trying to fight back too. What we're doing here, it might be spreading." Morrison felt hope rising in his chest. Keep broadcasting everything. If other species are watching, let them see that it's possible to come back from this. Outside, the confrontation between the colonists and the benefactors continued. The aliens tried to activate their machines, but the humans kept interfering. Not with violence, but with something the benefactors couldn't understand. The stubborn refusal to accept help they didn't want. Itiska raised his hands, and Morrison felt a strange calm trying to settle over his mind. The alien was using some kind of mental influence, trying to make them all peaceful again, but it didn't work. The humans had tasted their emotions again, and they weren't willing to give them up. The calm feeling slid off their minds like water off glass. "How are you doing this?" Zefka asked, and for the first time, he sounded uncertain. "Every other species accepts our gift eventually. Why do you resist what is clearly better for you?" Morrison stepped forward, speaking for all humanity. "Because better is something we get to decide for ourselves. You can't force someone to be happy. You can't make them peaceful by cutting out the parts of them that might choose war. If we're going to be good, we have to choose it every day. And if we're going to be at peace, it has to be a peace we build ourselves." The aliens stared at him for a long moment. Around them, the colonists continued their chaotic return to humanity. Some were arguing already, their voices raised in the first real disagreements they'd had in weeks. Others were hugging each other, crying, laughing, being beautifully messily human. "Your species may be the first to choose suffering over peace," Zefka said finally. "We do not know if this is wisdom or madness." Morrison smiled, feeling more human than he had in years. "That's the point. We get to find out for ourselves." The benefactors began loading their machines back onto their ships. They moved slowly, reluctantly, like parents leaving children who insisted they didn't need help. As their ships lifted off into the night sky, Morrison heard Amy's voice over the radio. "Jake, I'm getting responses from 12 different star systems. Species the benefactors helped years ago. They're all trying to broadcast the same thing. What are they saying?" "They're saying thank you. And they're asking us to teach them how to remember how to be themselves again." Morrison looked around at the colonists of New Terra, loud and messy and gloriously human again, and smiled. Sometimes the best help you could give someone was showing them they didn't need to be saved. Sometimes the most human thing you could do was choose to stay human.